Welcome back, everybody. Episode number 2 here of our crash course on Kerbal. Today we're going to be talking about the next 2 contracts in which we're going to escape the atmosphere and orbit Kerbin for the first time. The first thing we're going to need to do is upgrade a couple buildings. So if you right-click on the launch pad, you can see the current maximum vessel size, 20 meters by 21.2, maximum vessel weight, 18 tons. We're going to go ahead and upgrade that so that we can have a 140-ton vessel. Boom. Then we're going to go over to the astronaut complex. We're going to right-click on that, and we're going to upgrade this as well. The reason we're upgrading this is because this will allow us to plant flags and perform EVAs when off the surface. This is going to be really handy here because EVAs do provide more science, and we're trying to get you to the strongest start possible in this game. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade that, because on this next mission, we are going to be doing science. So after upgrading those two, we're going to go to mission control. Click on Escape the Atmosphere as a contract, Orbit Kerbin as a contract. Those are going to be the 2 we have available right now. Then we'll continue back over to the Vehicle Assembly Building. And from here, we're going to go ahead and do a speed build section, because I didn't want to waste too much time on this. You can pause the video and take a look at it. We're basically including 2 science modules in a payload bay that will protect them on re-entry. The science modules we're going to use at low Kerbin orbit and high Kerbin orbit to get maximum science out of this one trip. We're going to use a liquid fuel upper stage and entirely boosters on the lower stage. The reason we're doing this is because I want to show exactly how you can use throttle control to control your speed with liquid engines, and liquid engines are generally more efficient at higher altitude. Plus, a little bit less thrust, better fuel efficiency. We're also going to be using decouplers on all these stages to break the ship apart as we fly up. So this is going to be a mini stage ship. You can see the staging there on screen. Go ahead and pause it if you need to, again, just to take a look at this a little bit more closely. But as always, double check, make sure you got your Kerbal board, double check your staging before you go out for flight. You can see I'm doing it right now on screen. And let's go do it. Okay, and we're out here on the launch pad, ready to launch. So, here's the deal with orbiting. The idea is you want to get above the sphere of influence of the planet. In this case, that's 70,000 meters. So we're going to try to get up to 70,000 meters above the surface of the planet, and then try to get going at least 22 to 2,300 meters per second. Let's go ahead and activate SAS. And with this design, generally, what you want to do is you want to be laid over to a 45-degree angle by about 10,000 feet, or 10,000 meters. By 20,000 meters, you want to be down to about a 30-degree angle. So in this case, we're going to be using the solid fuel boosters to get us up to a good height, and then using these little fuel tanks on this engine that's more efficient to gently control the throttle. And that's something we're going to be doing as well here. We're going to be using control and shift to throttle down and up. Control is down on throttle. Shift is up on throttle. Z is full throttle. X is lower your throttle. And I believe you can click and drag over here too with your throttle. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you can once you're in flight. But either way, here we go. We are ready to take off, and we're going to escape the atmosphere and go to orbit. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Going. Spacebar activated. So on this initial launch, you are noticing we're going pretty much straight up. I'm going to go ahead and press D, turn us over to the side just gently here. Just gently, maybe 10 degrees. About like that. And we're just going to let it stabilize. Not press any directions. Well, now tapping D, trying to keep ourselves in the center of that circle. But we don't want to turn over too fast, because if you turn over in the low atmosphere like this, you start burning up, taking a lot of heat damage. It's really not a good time. So here we go. We're at 3,000 meters. And, you know, by 5,000, we want to be about halfway to 90 over here, over the 45-degree angle. Right now, I'm not actually pressing any direction. The ship's turning itself over at this point. As the air presses down on it, it's pushing the nose of the ship down. And that's causing us to slowly turn over at an angle. So this part is completely uncontrolled. I'm not pressing any buttons. Nothing is being pressed. Now I'm going to go ahead and start tapping D to try to turn us down a little faster over to that 45. I'm holding it now. Trying to pull it on over there. We're going a little steep at this angle for our height, because by this point, like I did say, you want to be at about 30 degrees. So we're going to let this carry us up. You notice we still have a lot of resistance against our ship, and accelerating at this point would be a waste of fuel. So we're going to go ahead, while holding D here, we're going to activate the next stage and turn this over to 30 degrees. The reason we're turning it over so hard is because we got to get up to that 2200, 2300 meters per second range. So by turning our ship here, and especially up at the 40,000 plus height, we're really not facing much air resistance. So we can really start to build up that speed, get ourselves out there, and create some good options. So we'll decouple that last booster, and we're going to look at our apoapsis height here. Now, the apoapsis is the highest point above the surface of a planet, and it's generally where you want to perform your burn. So by right-clicking on that point, you can pin its height currently. And if you right-click on your ship, it'll do the same thing. It'll pin its height up there. Now, what we want to do is when we get up to our apoapsis height, we're going to want to burn prograde, which is this circle here, where this circle is. So as we get over here, we know that it's going to be about on the horizon, because we want to be about pointed flat when we start this burn. Yeah. This is a good time to go ahead and use time warp. So we're going to go ahead and tap period, speed up our time just slightly until we get a little closer out there. We're going to wait until we get to about 126, 128, and then slow it on back down. Okay, we're back out here. Let's go ahead and get ourselves aligned with the horizon so that we can perform a good prograde burn. It's going to drive us straight. Now we're going to build up a lot of speed here. You notice we're only going 1,175 meters a second. We need to get that up to 2,300. So we're going to go ahead and start throttling now. Which might have been a little soon. But this will be okay. We'll go ahead and stop it for a second. Wait till we're a little closer. Generally, it's okay as long as you haven't reached the apoapsis, but once you pass the apoapsis, you're actually falling back to the planet, and you have to fight extra hard to build that height back up. So generally, you're okay to keep tapping the throttle like this, turning the booster on and off if you'd like, until you see the circle pop up all the way around the planet. And what we're looking for is, much like there's this apoapsis right here, we're going to see a periapsis pop up on the other side of the planet. Once that pops up, we'll go ahead and watch it. Now, there's going to be a point in which these flip around. That point at which the periapsis turns around this side, and this becomes the lowest point, and the apoapsis flips around that side and becomes the highest point, is the point at which we've circularized. So we're going to throttle just enough to have circularized. Wait for those to flip. Boom. They flipped. Okay. Now we're going to double check our fuel by going back off the map, and we've got 458 delta V left. This is excellent. So right now we're finding ourselves in low Kerbal orbit. This is LKO. Why don't we go ahead and gather some science while we're here? We packed all these modules. Let's go ahead and grab the temperature while we're here, the mystery goo while we're here, and grab that barometric pressure. Boom. We'll go ahead and leave these open because there is no air resistance out here for us to worry about. And what we're going to do is, let's see, apoapsis is at 148, periapsis is at 130. So the smartest way to do this, and since we have all the time in the world, we'll go ahead and do it the smartest way, is to wait till we're at the periapsis to push our apoapsis out. Anytime you're accelerating forward on this side, it's going to push this side out. Anytime you're accelerating forward on this side, it's going to push that side out. So you always push your highest point off the planet out when you're on the opposite side of the planet. So keep that in mind. Right here, it will be easier to push out 148,000 because it's already further out than it would be to push out 130. Not by much, but let's go ahead and speed up time and do this the smart way. Okay, now that we're back at our periapsis, we're going to go ahead and dial this in to prograde, which will get us pointed in the same direction that we're traveling. Our ship is now facing to our right, based on our view, and that's going to push that apoapsis out. Now, in order to reach high Kerbal orbit, we're going to need to push our apoapsis out beyond 250,000 meters. So as we approach our periapsis, we will burn forward until we see that number go above 250. And for this, we're going to use the shift key to slowly throttle up. That way we can really fine-tune and control exactly how far out we go. You'll notice the throttle only goes up a little bit. Gives us a lot of time to work with here to plan it out, and we don't have to deal with this rocketing out, going to like 7 million meters, and burning a lot of fuel we don't need to. Right now, you can still see we have 385 meters per second of delta V remaining, and that is plenty. So now, we're going to go out to our apoapsis and gather high Kerbal orbit science. Now you'll notice our ship is above 250,000 meters, and this allows us to be in high Kerbal orbit, so we're going to go ahead and gather science while we're out here. Observe mystery goo. You'll notice you get a slight bit more from being in space high over Kerbal. So we'll grab that. We will log our temperature. We will log our pressure data. And go ahead and close this up because we don't need it open anymore. Then we'll go to take a crew report. High over Kerbal, going to be worth more. And now we can actually do our EVA down here in the bottom right, off the planet of this, or off the surface of the planet. So let's go ahead and eject ourselves. Jebediah Kerman out here, first Kerbal even in space. Currently out here, 257,000 meters above the planet. And that's got to be an interesting experience. You can see he's loving every moment of this. Look at that face. Oh yeah, buddy. Let's leave the helmet on. Let's EVA report. 12 science out here. Perfect. Let's go ahead and board back up. And now that we're back on the ship, it's time to plan our descent. So, the closer you come in to the Kerbal Space Center, the more recovery money you get. And so what we're going to do is we're going to turn our SAS back on. It looks like it's shut off while we're in time warp there. Happens sometimes. And we're going to click on our periapsis, right click actually. And we're going to watch that number as we throttle up here. You'll see it starts to come down. Now you don't want to crash your ship directly back into the planet. You want to come in at a nice shallow angle. So in order to do that, we're going to try to just scrape the atmosphere to burn some speed off. And yeah, we're going to drop the periapsis, I believe, down to about 42. About 42. This might be a little high. We'll see what happens because the planet is turning away from us. But, you know, I have a feeling we'll crash somewhere over here in the water, if nothing else. And we do have our parachutes, so all is not lost. Now, this is the scary part, because as of right now, because you will be entering the sphere of influence of the planet, you're already set on a crash course to crash. It may not happen immediately, but anytime you set that periapsis below 70,000 on Kerbal, you've set yourself on a crash course to crash. So, remember that. You can use aerobraking on this planet, which is using the atmosphere to slow you down, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing coming in at such a high altitude. So let's go ahead and decouple, because we no longer need our engine. We're going to just go ahead and speed up time. 100 times speed. Well, I think we could do like 500 times speed way up there, but the closer you get to a planet, you'll notice the time warp starts to go down automatically. One important thing is don't ever go up to maximum time warp when approaching a planet. You'll shoot right through it. It's like a weird physics bug, but if you try to do that, it's not going to work out very well for you. So this takes a long time. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit just so we can get our ship back in, but we've gathered a ton of science. And if we can manage to land on the ground, another feature of upgrading the astronaut complex was the ability to plant a flag. So we may just get lucky and be the first Kerbal to plant a flag on this planet. Let's go ahead and speed up time here. Time warp. Now, generally, you want to be careful with this because if you notice, tapping the A and D keys, all that is very touchy when you're in 4 times physics speed. And if you tip your ship like that, the heat protection isn't going to work. So sometimes it's better to go a little bit slower, at least until you have upgraded pilots or upgraded control options, which you should have after this, actually. After this mission, Jebediah should be a level 1 pilot, and he'll have some additional control measures that we'll use in the next episode. So as we come in here, we're going to go ahead and speed up time again, just to pick this pace up. We're coming in fairly slow, all things considered. I mean, I know it's 2,400 meters a second. You know, only like Mach 7. Not a huge deal. We see the ship flip over there, the camera flipped over. That means that we're no longer exiting the sphere of influence of Kerbin. We are going to be coming back in on this run, and it looks like we're going to be slowing down fairly quickly here. Let's go ahead and take a look. We're not even going to make it over the ocean, so we're going to get a chance to plant a flag out here in the desert as our ship tears back to the surface, falling deep below the horizon here, 36,000 feet. We're hitting the first level of atmosphere. And this is the least dense, but that's where we're really going to start seeing the speed bleed off now that we have some air resistance against us, or whatever gases are up there. And these are really cool. If you look up here, if you click on resources in the top right, you can pin that. You'll see the ablator burning off. The ablator is the heat shield. When that ablator runs out, your heat shield runs out, essentially. And the reason that this thing melts off is because it's actually made of plastic, I found out recently. This is made out of some sort of plastic polymer resin that is specifically reactive to the atmosphere at certain heights. And yeah, it's really technically complicated. Technically complicated even. So yeah, this thing, pretty high tech. It's not just a piece of metal. I thought it was like a big piece of copper that melted off. No, apparently it's plastic, and it melts off. Protects the ship. Watch a video on that. This is not the video. Although it is going to be a little hot touching down out here in the middle of the desert. I feel like these astronauts will be breathing a fresh breath of air, having touched back down. Jebediah Kerman floating his way in, breaking down under 1,000 meters a second here, coming back, getting closer to the speed of sound, only 3 times the speed of sound right now. Trickling down. We'll go ahead and stomp on the time warp. And we're going to drift ever so gently down to the floor of the desert. And there we go. We completed our first mission that took us into orbit around the planet. We escaped the atmosphere. We're going to get a ton of cash and a ton of science for this. So right after we touch down here, the first thing we're going to do is take Jeb out. Oh, okay. Maybe roll this over. There we go. Hold on now. Hold on now. There we go. Jeb, we're going to put you on. Oh, we're obstructed. That's okay. We can fix this. Jeb. This is comical. Hold still. EVA. There we go. We're going to let go. And Jeb is going to plant a flag. A grand day here for Jebediah Kerman. The Lemon Pops flag flying in the wind. Backwards lettering. Who does that? Jeb's first orbit. With the plaque text, we did it. Woo! We did it. You did it. More than likely. We're going to go ahead and climb here if it'll allow us. We're gonna go ahead and climb here. Yeah. There we go. Grab on and board. Make it happen. All right, back to the Space Center we go. And look at that, 142 science now, 104.5 earned from this mission. Looking at the parts, we managed to recover 4,400. I believe the ship costs like 12,000 altogether, so we got like 5,000 there. Almost 300,000 in funds, and Jebediah did reach level 1. So for our next tutorial, we are going to go into research and development. We're going to go ahead and purchase these parts. So prepare yourself. We're going to grab stability. We're going to grab general rocketry. We're going to grab basic science, which is going to allow us to use the Science Junior. And we're going to grab advanced rocketry, because on our next one, we are going to be going to Minmus. And we're going to gather somewhere in the neighborhood of like 400 science or 450 science or something absurd. That's going to take us through the rest of the middle or early game and really get you kicked out the door on your feet. So unlock those techs and make sure you like this video. Make sure you share it with your friends. If you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.